If you've been with the show for a while, you'll recognize parts of this, but I want to frame it more cleanly today. There's a conversation we don't have very well, especially when it comes to men. It's the conversation about mental health that doesn't necessarily look like crisis, that doesn't announce itself as emergency, and that passes as normal, sometimes as admirable. And because it passes so easily, it often goes unnamed. When we picture mental health struggles, we still tend to imagine visible distress, withdrawal, loss of motivation, things falling apart. But that framing misses a large group of people entirely. Because for many men, distress doesn't show up as collapse, it shows up as control. More structure, more rules, more discipline, tighter routines, stricter food boundaries, more training, less rest. From the outside, it looks focused, reliable, impressive. From the inside, though, it can feel like functioning under tension. This is the distinction we tend to miss. Some of the behaviors we celebrate as strength are actually coping mechanisms. Not always, not inherently, but often enough that it matters. And when we miss that distinction, people suffer quietly, sometimes for years, while appearing perfectly fine. This pattern shows up very clearly around eating, exercise, and body image. We still tend to associate eating disorders and body dysmorphia primarily with women. But men experience these struggles too. They just experience them differently. The language is different, the behaviors are different, the justifications sound reasonable. I'm disciplined. I care about performance. I'm optimizing. And because those explanations overlap with values we admire, we mislabel the behavior. Here's the pattern that keeps coming up. Control over the body becomes a way to manage uncertainty elsewhere. Food becomes numbers, training becomes obligation, rest becomes threat, and the goal isn't health, it's stability. The body becomes a load-bearing system, the place where emotional regulation quietly happens. This is why these struggles are so easy to miss in healthcare settings. The person looks functional, productive, and committed. They show up on time, they follow plans, and they aren't asking for help. But underneath, there's rigidity, and rigidity is not resilience. One of the most useful distinctions here is this. Healthy discipline expands your life. Pathological discipline narrows it. When rules multiply instead of relax, when flexibility disappears, when deviation feels like failure, that's not willpower, that's control masquerading as discipline. And this isn't about blame. Most people don't choose this consciously. They find something that works, something that brings relief, or something that creates order. And slowly, without realizing it, the one strategy starts carrying too much weight. This is why asking, is this healthy, often isn't the right question. A better question is, what happens to me if I stop? If stopping brings anxiety or identity loss or the sense that something might unravel, that's not a verdict, but it is information. This matters not just for individuals, but for how we think about health as a system. When we only recognize the stress when someone breaks down, we miss the long middle. We miss the years of functioning under tension, the years where discipline is rewarded. We miss the years where health feels unnecessary or even undeserved. Some of this thinking has been shaped by past conversations on the show. If this topic resonates, especially if it feels personal, there's a longer, more nuanced conversation available with George Mycock where we take this apart very carefully with the depth and clinical context it really deserves. Here's what I want to leave you with. Strength is not the absence of struggle, and discipline is not proof of health. Sometimes the most important work isn't tightening your grip, it's learning where you no longer need one. That's not weakness, that's growth. This is uncommonly remarkable. Thanks for listening.